Hey Justin, welcome back. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Dharam. Happy, I guess it's Memorial Day weekend already, and summer is upon us. I know the summer is certainly here in the Middle East, with it already getting over 38 degrees Celsius. For those of you back in the U.S., that's 100 plus degrees Fahrenheit. So just doing that conversion for everyone.
I know, I know. I have to do backward. I have to, somebody 100 me, this is probably 37, 38, and that's what we're going to experience today in Dallas.
Yep, summer is here, and I know everyone back in the U.S. is celebrating a holiday weekend, and so
Yeah.
certainly thoughts and prayers with the ones who made the ultimate sacrifice for the United States.
Yeah.
So it's certainly in our thoughts and prayers today.
Yeah. So I'll be thinking about, the United States. There's sacrifices everywhere. A lot of people in the army or air force or many other ways they are contributing to the humanity. And of course by fighting or sort of saving or whatever ways, but we need to think about the people who have been contributing to the word peace, and that's why the word is better place, still better place, livable place. So thank you for remembering, and look, you look excited. You just finished your MBA, and you are a rock star now. Look at you, your face and your new red shirt. Oh my God, you are.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you don't have the stress of any school homework anymore. I don't know what to do with myself. I got time to go down to the pool and, gosh, have a little free time. So I guess I am feeling a little refreshed now.
There you go. So look, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. The project failed. It's not my fault. Look, that's the topic of today's podcast. Project failed. My project program failed. Is failing. I don't agree. That's my fault. So it's a common thing. Project program fail, and the blame game start. Whose fault? When? What? Instead of analyzing in the bigger picture, we start seeing who to blame next. Who is the lowest in the food chain?
Right. And that's a human nature. But I guess maybe I come from this as and Dharam, we've always established ever since we started this podcast, I always come at it from a look of an athletic angle. And I lean on my background from my college football days of taking accountability. And
Mm.
as the project manager, I think it's very important to take responsibility, even if it isn't your fault. The buck stops here type mentality. And quite frankly, I think that when the project manager, as the leader of the team for a particular project, that is your duty to, quite frankly, fall on the sword if that ends up being the case where the project was a failure. And quite frankly, when you look at all the common, um, how do I want to say it, issues that, quite frankly, a project has failed, it usually comes down to your stakeholder engagement, whether it be internally, externally. It usually comes down to that, whether it be an expectation mismanagement, or not being clear on what needs to be done, or not
Yeah.
engaging with the operations folks to make sure you have the proper talent. And so at the end of the day, as the project manager, it likely is something that you didn't do, whether it be, not necessarily directly, but indirectly as well. And so as the project manager, I think it really does boil down to a fall on the sword, handle things internally. Uh, and quite frankly, I think your team will respect you more in the long run when a project manager does that. I think that that's the best way to gain rapport and to make sure that not only will the team feel that you have their back, but you've demonstrated that you have their back moving
Exactly.
forward. And I think that is a priceless action as a project manager, that in the long run, you'll learn from those mistakes, you'll engage, and in the future, it'll make you very successful. And I will say, as we even get into this, giving a shout out to my English teacher from high school that actually just did a TEDx talk. And going into this particular subject with the, I don't agree that it's my fault topic, I will say that as a project manager, even in my career, I have learned more during my failures than I have during my just plain easy successes.
Yeah.
Those failures are the reasons that I've gotten to where I have in my career, because I've learned from them, and it's made me better. And in her recent speech was one of her life lessons, where she said some of her young teachers that were coming into her school were asking, well, is there any advice that you should give me? And she goes, you don't want me to answer that question, because simply, failing is the best way to succeed. And you have to get out there and fail to see what works for you. And so while it's a simple type of message, it's very powerful. And I agree. And you have to be able to support your people where, hey, every great thing that we've experienced in life is usually come from a bit of risk. And it's no different than when you're trying to find a way to do something better or faster and better quality. You have to be able to do a little bit of tinkering before you can get that finished product. And so, that's something that I want to set the tone kind of up front with hey, you're not going to learn anything from just everything being on success mode and cruise control. Where you really make yourself and where you learn and become a successful person, whether it be in life or in your career, is by learning from your failures.
Exactly. And you will remember more from coming out from the failure to really winning out, and that become your success story as well. Compared to winning, nobody care. You're supposed to be winning anyway. But when it was literally given up, fail, or nobody trusted you, and you come out of an as a hero, I mean,
that's right, and we can even do it directly, Dharam, with you and I. It's been documented that my first PgMP exam, I didn't take the classes with you at first. I did a boot camp, and it wasn't very good. And I thought I prepared well. I thought I did, and went in there and I didn't pass. And obviously, I was pretty upset with myself. I was disappointed. Kind of took 2 weeks to get my head, clear. And then you and I started our journey together. And, I was frothing at the mouth to take that test again, and, finished it in 2.5 hours, and probably could have done it much faster than that. But I was locked in and ready to go. And, with that proper preparation and taking those lessons learned and working with you, we crushed it.
Exactly. And that's where the failure is important. What happened? I'm not saying you should go and fail, but learning from that. And when you came out on that day in I think October 2nd, when I remember that because it's one of the important day in India as well. And you came out, hey, there are my partner, smashed exam. Here 4 weeks ago, you were, came out with whatever you already talked about.
Broken.
And Dharam, I cannot fail. And, and because of that, we got connected and we have done so many things. And you have, last 2.5, and not even 2 years ago, 2 years, we have done so many podcasts. So look, I suggest people, like, things happen for a reason. Okay. It is either to teach you how to be a better person, or that's why I say from that point of view. If there's, don't take failure, it's okay, that's end of you and nothing going to happen. Okay, this happened. What next? What can I do to be a better in what maybe bigger than that? And if I start talking about my failure and how I think that we need another podcast for that. But there's, what you are today, what I am today, is not because of all the successes, because of the failures I had in my life. And that's where I recover, or resiliently, or adaptability, whatever the big word we can use here. But keeping your vision intact, this is where I have to be. Yeah, we will be there. Fail, up and down, a part of life. Learn from them and keep moving.
That's right.
All right, let me come back to the podcast. The topic and the question I have is, how have emerging project management methodology adapted to address common cause of project failures? And what lesson can be learned from past methodology shortcomings?
Well, I think today's methodologies, I think, quite frankly, as a project manager now, you have more tools at your disposal probably than ever before. I think, quite frankly, we're spoiled rotten with the way that we can communicate in such a fast, quick pace around the world. And not only that, with the technology, with your dashboards and being able to, look at your, the traffic signals, red, yellow, green, and see all your status reports. I think, really those are amazing things that project managers back in the day did not have, and everything was manually entered or even written down. And not only that, with, of course, the traditional with the lessons learned type database or repository, but now you even have the ability to utilize the AI or Chat GPT to even do a search in your registry or database to see lessons learned and be able to just quickly find things where you can get things so fast. Those type of new technologies and methodologies, of course, with the ever adapting world that we live in now, agile is quite frankly taking over anything and everything we do, whether it be personally and professionally. But at the end of the day, I think we always talk about it, and we've already mentioned it today on the, why do projects typically fail? It comes down to the soft skills, and that's those stakeholder engagements, whether it be internally and externally. And I think those are some things that, really as a project manager, I was just talking about this, literally yesterday with a colleague where, as a project manager, you kind of have to have the gift of gab, being able to speak to other people, being able to talk. You don't necessarily have to be the smartest person in the room. You have to be knowledgeable, but have the ability to find the smart people to help make you succeed. And I think really as a project manager, especially with all the different tools that we have now, you really have to almost become a bit of like an athletic coach in a lot of ways, where your servant leadership, you're wanting to take care of your people, make sure that they're where they need to be and set up for success, and you're constantly engaging with all the different stakeholders and looking at the environments in which you're working in and around the globe, and certainly politically and economically, and things are changing so fast where governments are, making things happen overnight to where something that was hard yesterday is now, we can do it today. Those are some incredible things happening. And I think that, with all the processes and procedures that are kind of really built in and learned over these years, that soft skill thing that really a machine can't help you with, it can guide you, but you really have to have that gift of gab and be able to almost be like a coach or a teacher in a lot of ways. And so that's something that I think from a lesson learned in the future. Right now, I don't necessarily know if there's a solution to that. So that could be a future shortcoming. But really, I mean, when we look at the methodologies that we have and the tools and being adaptable to what we're dealing with on a daily basis now, it's impressive, mind-blowing, quite frankly.
Exactly. Look at, lots of, as you mentioned, a lot of tools at the disposal. I'm thinking back in the days, you were running the projects, as a cowboy, if you're good, you can manage the things properly, you know how to do. You're a winner or loser, and you're generally running the show blindfolded. Now you are sitting in the, you're a pilot on the plane. You can see all the dashboard information there. Now you know what is happening with the engine, what is happening with this pressure, air pressure, this and that, and you are better control. So that's the difference. These tools, AI-based tools, and the VXDCC all the time I talk about. The dashboard is created. That you can pick a project. Hey, why is the pick up phone and call? Hey, why this project is red? What are you doing to help to improve it, or do you need my help, or do we get somebody to so we can be more proactive than what it was in the past. So technology is making it possible, giving us beautiful the dashboards and the balance scorecards and bubble charts and so many things which help you to be in very good control. So that's what I can think of.
Yep, I agree.
So let me ask the next question. How can project managers foster a culture of resilience within their teams to better withstand setbacks, navigate the complexity of modern project environments?
With my teams, I've always, quite frankly, up front, have always said, expect the unexpected. Be surprised if it doesn't happen. There's going to be something that happens that likely was not planned for. There's going to be an issue or something we're going to have to overcome. And I always wanted my team to know that. And I also, as the leader of the team, being humble. Hey, I'm not perfect. No one is. And being able to admit your faults in front of your team, it's only going to make you stronger in the end. It will not make you look weaker. And so creating that environment where, again, as we already touched on a little bit, we want our folks to push the boundaries, to find a way to be able to do it, better than they were able to yesterday. And that is going to take a little bit of trial and error. And so sometimes you take a calculated risk, or, I've always been fortunate enough to have folks that want to find ways to do things better and faster. And so, again, creating that environment, letting them know that, hey, I expect this to be done by a certain time, but how you do that, or if you can get it done beforehand, great. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I just need it done by this, and find a way to be better. And so our folks are constantly, looking at ways that they can improve on things or help the team. And so, again, but at the end of the day, creating that environment where you're, quite frankly, you're just being down to earth and you're being genuine, and again, encouraging that ability to, sometimes you're not going to be right. And so failure is the only way to succeed, quite frankly.
And
in order to succeed, you have to fail first.
I'm just, while talking, I'm thinking, what happened in my kitchen? My wife come, okay, today's your turn to cook. So why? Suddenly, you have to cook this. I don't know how to cook. You have been watching me. No, you would have failed, I know, but you have to cook. So I know this is not, I just thought the idea of, but while I'm making mistakes there, and she's fixing, that's fine, but she's not, hand holding me. So next time I will be better. Okay, I'm making mistake is fine. But she also said, make mistake, no problem. But you learn from the next time when you do, you have to be better. And I know this is my wife, husband thing, and this all goes together. But in the real life, when the failure happened, blame games start happening. Hey, you, because of you. No, take a step back. What happened? What was the environment? What we can do in future or the next program project to avoid this, to be better prepared. That's where the lesson learned all about. Capture the lesson learned, and not about his fault and her fault. Is about what happened. What maybe the process failure, it's a system failure, or some political environment. It's all another thing. But what can we do to avoid in future program? Because there's so much investment going into this project program. It's not about you. It's about about the investors. It's about the environment you're creating. People, they're trusting you for that, not about blaming each other.
That's right. Exactly.
So how does adopting systemic view of failure promote project and program management, transparency, collaboration, and resilience?
I think we've kind of already touched on it a little bit there with what we kind of just talked about. And again, being in the agile world that we are in now, expecting the unexpected and be comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense. It's just the nature of the beast now. And so adopting that new normal is really the way that you have to be. And even when we've been faced with challenges in the past where, gosh, that's horrible news. It's again, I go back to my college athletics days is, so what? Now what?
Hmm?
We can't quit. So, all right, that's unfortunate that this happened, but what are we going to do to fix it? And so, because failure is not an option, so we will find a way. Let's talk about it. Let's find a solution and a way to move forward. And I think when again, when you're upfront and honest with your team and you have that good relationship and you're quite frankly, you working as a unit, that type of transparency, it's just automatic, and you have that camaraderie to be able to discuss the challenges, because there will be. And again, if you're expecting those, you're not going to be surprised, and you're going to be able to handle them in a lot better fashion, and be able to execute at a higher level.
Exactly. Yeah, yep. And as you rightly said, if failure is failure. We learn from that. And by having transparency, keeping your stakeholder informed, again, stakeholder is the king. And not just king, but keeping them informed. If the failure happen, about to happen, discuss with them. Give them option. They can help you. If you just keep within yourself, okay, let me see, let me try, let me work it out. It could be the one of the worst decision. Okay, there's a problem about to happen. Let's call the sponsor, discuss, okay, this is a situation I'm going into and likely impact. And I'm thinking about these 2 3 options. What do you think? Give them think. Okay. And they look from different angle actually. You look from your project program point of view, they look from the organization point of view, they look for long-term view. Okay, you know what? Option one you think, but I think option two is better. While option one is short term, option two is a long term. And wow, I never thought like that. Suddenly you have bigger picture.
Yep, we've done that many times with our customers where, if you're operating in an environment where, you're overseas and you don't necessarily have the ability to go down to the store and get pieces and parts, understanding what our challenges are, being able to evaluate, like you just laid out, some of the different options. We'll call our customer and say, hey, there's going to be a project delay of some type. Here are our options, here's the risks associated with it, and here's the likelihood of that not working, and here's the critical path. And so again, engaging with them up front about these are some of the issues that we're facing, and having them be a part of the decision-making process as well. So then you're really operating truly as an entire team, and everyone's on the same page. Again, as we pointed out, it's all about your stakeholder engagement and expectation management.
Expectation management. Yes, that's right. Perfect. Okay, could you elaborate on how emotional intelligence is another buzzword among the project program managers plays a critical role in navigating the complexity of the team dynamics and stakeholder engagement?
Yeah, I know we've touched a little bit more in depth on emotional intelligence in some other podcasts, but what I will say is again, expecting the unexpected and being comfortable with being uncomfortable. But I've kind of always had the mentality of, it's never as good as it seems, and it's never as bad as it seems. So me as a leader, I've tried to always kind of keep that even keel. So where I'm not on an emotional roller coaster, I think is very important. And quite frankly, as a leader, if you're going to react in an emotional way and show like you're flailing arms and being upset, well, your team's going to respond like that, and it's not going to be likely very good. And so being able to absorb the bad news, don't necessarily let it affect you in your body language or your facial expressions, or even any type of body expressions. Absorb it, think about it, think about your responses. Even in my younger career, I love him. I still consider him a great mentor today. He'd always used to tell me, Justin, take the emotion out of it. And it used to always upset me when he would say that. And over my years, I really started to really understand what he meant by that. And number one, it's not about you. It's, sometimes when you're a project manager, that project is like your baby. It's like your life. And so anything that happens to it, it affects you in a big way. And so, again, I still feel that way, but to a certain extent, I can obviously disconnect now. I think as you go through some of those hard times, and you take your own lessons learned, like, okay, now I understand that, and I'm not gonna react that way next time. I think those are great. And again, taking that never as good as it seems, never as bad as it seems, keeping that even keel, and your team is quite frankly going to respond accordingly. And again, they're watching you as the leader, and so how
Yeah.
you respond to things is going to affect the way that they do it as well. And so I think that that's a great lesson that I learned, and some of the coaches that I've watched in American football, for the Nebraska fans, Tom Osborne, one of the best college football coaches of all time. The man would win national championships, and you might get a smile out of him. But even when some of the worst plays happen, he looked the same. Bill Belichick, the New England Patriots, same way. When you see some of these coaches, how they respond to whether it's good or bad, even as a project manager, I get it. I understand it. It's like, all right, the game's not over with. We got to move on to the next thing. So I think those type of reactions from an emotional standpoint is going to really help your team and their performance. And of course, that's goes along with all of your different stakeholder engagement and the differences in your team and overcoming conflict and everything else. Again, still keeping with that, don't react right off the bat. Ask questions. Asking questions is a great way to kind of, how do I want to say it? Take the immediate emotion out of things and go, okay, well, let's talk about it. And can I ask you a question here? I think that is when it really kind of disarms folks, even when you're dealing with those type of things. And so that'd be my advice more than anything. And I think it has done me well in my time managing teams.
Exactly. So emotional intelligence plays an important role. Of course, we know that now is more important because how you're feeling and how others are feeling, understanding that, yeah, especially when the failure happen, and it's not about again pinpoint failure, because of your fault. The person is equally disturbed or in a pain as you are, because they start taking it personally. Yep, that's happened. Okay, guys, don't worry about it. We're going to work. We're going to be together and give them support, encouragement, and let them feel. Yep, they did everything. I mean, of course, they are making mistakes by knowingly. Then they need to be penalized. But if they tried everything and that did not work out, that's okay. We'll work together. I have seen, I think it's one of my schools, not my kids' school, when they were not only rating them for the success, but also how much, what is that, in effort. They were rating on the efforts as well. It's not about you may have put 100% effort, but you did not get success. You still get full marks for effort, but you may not get full marks for the success. Other time you got more score for success, but your effort wise less, so you get score on the less. So it's encouraging both sides. You put
you're right, Dharam.
Yeah.
And I would even say, even in the field of athletics, a coach would much rather have someone that is going at it 100% and makes the mistake than someone that's going at 75% and has the proper or executes. They would rather have that full effort, because they can coach making the changes to their assignment on the particular play, but you cannot coach effort.
Exactly.
That's something that comes within.
Yeah, effort has to come from inside and feel like connected, motivated. Yeah, can-do attitude.
That's right.
Exactly. Okay, great. Thank you. So with the rise of remote and globally distributed teams, and we all learned it, like this discussion happening remotely, what are the unique challenges in project and program management? And how can managers effectively address these issues to avoid project failures?
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about it before. Of course, being remote, you're going to have teams that are connected from around the world. And of course, the biggest challenges is that we get to deal with all the time is just the time differences. That's one big thing that's extremely difficult. And number two, I think for me, the biggest thing is communicating effectively to make sure that expectations are known. Sometimes, especially in these, using Microsoft Teams or Zoom, whatever platform you choose, you're not really getting that, how do I want to say, warm and fuzzy or understanding that you would if you were sitting across the table from someone. I think, again, being in front of someone and physically in person, there's just some of those body languages and things like that you can get a better feel for how a person maybe understands what you're asking them, and vice versa. And so, those are some of the biggest challenges that we always see. Of course, when you have a globally connected team, maybe language barriers, you have different religious and country holidays, things like that you're constantly having to adapt around. But again, I see those as opportunities. And as we kind of already talked about with the tools that project managers have now, then, back in the day, those weren't possible. And so, again, I think while there are unique challenges with the globally connected, it also is uniquely easier because of everybody being able to look at things in real time and being able to communicate around the globe in a matter of a second. Versus, that didn't happen anymore back in the day. And so I think the biggest thing, again, as we talked about at the start of this, is usually the biggest thing to a project failing is stakeholder engagement. Again, that could be internally and externally, depending. And again, with an engagement being globally connected and not physically seeing each other, that can lead to issues, especially with expectation management and understanding of what's being asked. I think those are the biggest issues that come about with this new way that we do business.
Exactly. Yeah. So while we are having, flexibility and talent available around the world, we can use them, but they come with their own challenges, as you correctly mentioned, because of, lack of, you don't see them and, that often, and you cannot know what's going on. And that's where your contribution is more important. You need to create a culture of openness and, discussion among each other and various tools are available. Nowadays, Zoom give you capability, or many other tools give you capability. You share screen, you can work together on the screen same time and have regular discussion, meeting, not just about work only. Work is always great, but have some sessions, where we talk, just talk. Tell me, how are you going? How was your Japan trip? How was your, all these things. That's also very important to build a relationship, rapport, and all this. So this global culture is very important, very good. We have to live with that. And how we're going to find ways to, understanding the challenges and come up with innovative ways to build a relationship and find the issues about to happen upfront and, navigate through them.
That's right.
Yeah. Can you discuss the importance of data analytics in identifying potential project failures early and how project managers can leverage technology to make more informed decisions?
Yeah, as we've kind of already chatted a little bit about with the different technologies and tools that are at our fingertips now, and being able to sift through the mountains of data that are out there, it's amazing. And the importance of being able to analyze them is amazing. Of course, with the technology that we have, a lot of times it makes us lazy because we don't have to actually analyze it ourselves. But I think one of the biggest things that I learned in my MBA is being able to recognize biases in data. And that is something that you can't necessarily, I like to call it the trust but verify. You can't necessarily take what a machine is always giving you. And so being able to understand where the data came from, recognizing your outliers, is that really within your mean and within your window, or is it just a blip on the radar? Understanding, again, comes down to those soft skills as a project manager that a machine's just not going to be able to take care of for you, is taking a look at that and finding any biases, because there undoubtedly likely will be. And so being able to analyze that and being able to recognize those type of biases or possibilities of biases may not be there. But I think that's one of the biggest things that you're seeing now, especially in academics and in these postgraduate degrees, where you see a lot of specialties in data analytics simply because of all the different tools that are coming online. And we do need to be able to trust but verify, because there undoubtedly is going to be biases in the data that we're going to have to go through. And so that in and of itself, as a project or program manager, or even any type of senior leader, that is going to be crucial in being able to make those informed decisions, because you may be looking at some report that's that's computer generated, and it may be giving you data that's going to have you make a wrong decision. And so being able to have that knowledge, to be able to just check to make sure that it makes sense before making that decision, is something that's going to be very, very important moving forward.
Yeah. So rightly mentioned, data analytics. And I mean, if you can look at the data and get you predictions, trend by looking at the trend and get to know this about to happen, that's the best way. And you rightly said, if the data is biased and not filtered properly, and you will get different results. You will get unexpected. But if your data is good, which you're collecting from your project management tools and other things, and pay attention to that, you look at the trend and you say, hang on, if I continue like this, this project going to fail very soon. We're running out of budget, we're running out of the time, and we still don't get the benefit. What can I do? So looking at this trend, and okay, we have to make some adjustment now. Otherwise, I'm out. And I mean, I will just give you an example. It's not based on data, but I'll tell you my example of my PgMP, my exam. I don't know if I talked about that or not to you in your class, but when I was in the exam in 2009, and most people know about, but halfway through when I looked at my exam, I said, hang on, this cannot be right. It's already 2 hours and I did only 39 questions. 39 questions, 2 hours. I have 131 question to go and less than 2 hours to go. So understanding the trend, now I know something is not right. I could have let, okay, you know what? I cannot do much. Fine, done with this. But I took a step back and, okay, what is going on? What I'm doing wrong? What I can do to avoid this happening again? I took a break, 5 minutes, and the break, I did all thing, whatever I have to do in washroom and washing my eyes, thinking going on, thanks to my yoga, meditation, all going on. And then I was so powerful in the next half, I completed not only the exam, 20 minutes to go, and passed the exam.
Ooh, that's impressive.
Yeah, had I not looked at my data and trend, what's going on, I could not talk that story. But that 131 question in probably around not about 90 minutes, I completed. 90 minute, 131 question, passed exam, and I cannot, yeah. But that's what it is, the power of data. If you can look at the data, something not right, and early detection is very important. And when you get it, what else we can do to fix the problem? What else we can do to exceed our expectation?
That's right.
Yeah. How are sustainability and ethical consideration influencing project and program management decisions? And how do these factors impact project success rates?
Well, just as we've talked about already with the ever-changing environments in which we're operating in now, an ever-connected world, your stakeholder engagement, as we keep going back to, is internally and externally. I mean, it truly, the more you look at it, is just becoming more and more important. And again, even before you start it, doing your risk register and risk and mitigation techniques and understanding, hey, this could be an issue. What are we going to do if this comes up as a topic? Again, that's where it comes down to really everything. Where I'm to the point now where the more I've thought about things is, even if your project, let's say operationally internally, you don't deem it as a success, but if you have that great stakeholder engagement and you're, quite frankly, at the end of the day, your customer still feels good about the money that they paid and the product that they received, that's still a win. And it may not be internally, but if you're making sure that your customer, your end user at the end of the day feels good about what they got, you've won. That is a win. And so being able to again engage with them and being transparent up front, I think is really where it all stems from. You could have a disaster in execution at a certain point in the project, but again, if you're upfront and honest with them and found ways to get around it and make it right, that's a win. And so even today with these sustainability and ethical, of course, with the different things with moving to electric vehicles and things like that, and how that may affect our grids and in the future, there's a lot to take in, and certainly we don't necessarily know all of the future. And depending on which country you're in, some are a little bit more developing than others, and so some are just trying to play catch up with some of the ones that are a little bit more developed. And so understanding not only where they're currently at and where they need to be and how do you get there. You can't just go from 0 to 100. You likely got to go from 0 to 30 to 60 to 90 to 100 maybe, and understanding your operational environment, I think, is the most important. And again, that boils down to stakeholder engagement and understanding where you're operating. I think that, again, it can greatly depend. And if you don't do your proper research, it will fail because you didn't have the understanding needed to be able to execute in that environment.
Yeah, and these two, sustainability and ethics, definitely very important in current world. While a lot of things are happening, artificial. I mean, talking about AI, and we can, if you think what can be the next 5 years, 10 years, we can have a human like much smarter than human, and they're taking over the world. If we don't control some people or ethical behavior, there's some boundaries should be there. So anyway, so that's another topic for discussion. But the sustainability, yep, we are using so much natural resources, and can we sustain an ethical behavior on that? So understanding some of these factors can help you to understand, to find the ways to better prepare to that's where the success of the project can improve.
Well, and some of the big things that I think are some of the easy things that I think any company can do is just take a look and try and future-proof it as much as you can.
Exactly.
Again, some basics, like if you're putting fiber in the ground, communication fiber, don't just put what you might need, and some spares. The trench is already there. It doesn't cost any more to dig the trench than it already does. Talk with your customer and just say, hey, while you only need a 50-strand fiber or whatever it is, let's put 100-strand fiber in it. Because guess what? You're likely gonna wish you did it in 5 to 10 years anyway, just to have that sparing, or it'll just save you. Just some of those basic, easy things like that. Again, thinking ahead, that adds value. And I think at the end of the day, your customer will be happy that you ended up doing that, because maybe there's a future project that'll be coming up in a couple of years that they didn't even know about. But hey, I already have this spare fiber in the ground that's already ran, and my cost to actually make this project happen has been significantly reduced because it's already there. Those are just some little
Mm,
things that, it may not necessarily seem like much, but in the end, that's where you get repeat business because just thinking ahead and little things like that, or don't necessarily pick a particular component that is very closed sourced and it's not compatible with much. I think you want to, because of the rapidness of change, be very agnostic with the type of components that you recommend to your customers, just so you don't pigeonhole them to where it costs them even more to upgrade it in a matter of a couple of years because they have to completely rip out the old system, so to speak. Those things I think in the long run will do your customers well, and I think that shows that you're trying to do what's best for the customer instead of just taking the easy way or trying to maximize profit.
yeah. And that reminds me, when we're building the house, getting the house being done, said builder asked, "Hey, if you pay another $500, we can give you, we convert this as a bathroom and the door and this cupboard area. $500 more? No, but now we same thing you want to do, $12,000."
Yep, and you're kicking yourself for it. You're exactly right.
We should have done it, $500 extra. But yes, yeah, thinking ahead. Okay,
Yep.
that's the lesson learned. And
Put that in your repository, my friend.
I know. So if we do build another house, we'll think. I mean, yeah. Uh, okay. So how can project and program managers enhance collaboration among the cross-functional teams to mitigate the risk of project failures, particularly in the complex and multidisciplinary projects?
Well, I think we've talked about a lot of it today, but with that being said, is again the humility. And sometimes as project managers or program managers, we get a little bit of a rivalry amongst each other. We want to be the best, within your company, things like that. But again, having some humility, sharing with others the issues that you've come along with, and of course, data integrity. It's something that I know we haven't mentioned much. With all the data that we have, if you're putting bad data in, you're garbage in, garbage out, quite frankly. And so making sure that what you're putting in is consistent and accurate and to where everybody can easily follow that. And I think even meeting with your fellow teams across company business units and across the world, it's a challenge actually. In my recent MBA international trip to Vietnam and Singapore, uh, met with some of the CEOs of some very large, complex organizations. One of them was one of the largest uh, private investment funds in Southeast Asia, and understanding all the different sectors that they're involved in, I literally asked the CEO, "How are you able, to get that information flow across all those different sectors to where you're operating on quite frankly, a common type platform and common alignment?" And he acknowledged, he goes, "We're doing our best. We're trying to actually find ways." And he even said, "Justin, if you can truly, solve that issue for organizations, you'll be a very rich man." But they started out small, and they recognized how they do business. As they're growing, is just simply not feasible for them. The top three founders to go sit and have coffee on a Friday to exchange that information. It's not doable anymore. And so I think that's going to be a real challenge. It always is, especially in big companies. When you're getting into the six to any billion-dollar plus companies, being able to share information. It's no secret that even I still learn about what my company's doing in certain places around the globe, and you're trying to break down those barriers. And of course, it's challenging because with our different specialties, it doesn't really coexist with theirs. But understanding that, hey, you're already operating in this environment, what are the challenges that you're facing, so that if we're going to get into this environment, that way we go with our eyes open instead of blindfolded. I think it is very challenging, but it's a must. And if you can do that, you'll be very successful if you can break down those barriers. And so that's one thing that I've been focused on over here. We all, quite frankly, all of our business units within the company likely have something over here in the region, or if not here in Europe or even in Asia, that we can have some of those synergies that we can be better overall. And so that's something that needs to be a strategic focus for all organizations for the growth, because it is an interconnected world now. You can't just live in your own box in one country.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, you have so much talent around, and taking the best out of them. And everybody has some strengths, weaknesses, and that's what we do, SWOT analysis, and allocating or working with them based on their strength and the weaknesses. Okay, we have somebody else we can do somehow to mitigate that weaknesses, and we can have better team around. So identifying, clear roles and responsibilities, and working on their strengths and weaknesses, and working together to avoid, as per the strength, or as per so that helps you to focus, to keep your team focused, because they are playing as per the strength, and somebody else is there to support the weak areas, and that's how I can see that. All right, so my last question: looking ahead, what emerging trends or technologies do you believe will significantly reduce project failure rates and improve overall project success?
Call me old-fashioned, Dharam, but again, I think I can't say it enough, that stakeholder engagement. There's going to be new technologies that's going to make us even more able to engage with our stakeholders easier.
Yep.
And utilizing, you can have all the technology in the world, but if you don't use it properly, it's worthless.
Yep.
And so being able to understand the technologies and tools at your fingertips and execute with them to make you a better communicator with your stakeholders internally and externally, I think again is going to be the key to success as these different machines and technologies come out. The soft skills is where you're really going to be able to find your own success as a project manager, because a machine's just simply not going to be able to replace that. And so being able to, quite frankly, corral, or as I like to call it sometimes, herding cats, can be a challenge. And so being able to understand the tools that are available to you and being able to use them in an efficient manner to be able to communicate with all of your stakeholders, I think is truly the and quite frankly, I think it will always be the key to a project success. And if you can do that, you're going to significantly reduce the risk of failure.
Definitely, yeah. So emerging technology is making you more powerful by having access to the information. Even when you talk about stakeholder engagement, if you're aware your stakeholder not engaged, or they are not happy for any reason, you can take some proactive actions, rather than, if you don't know what's happening with the stakeholder, they just think, and then one day they call you, hey, we are finishing a project. Why? Oh, we don't see that. But if you can see the upfront, and you have been engaging with them, and you know what's coming and what they know what's coming, then you can be better control. And this technology is going to make make you more smarter to use the technology and improve your success.
Yeah, one of the big things that I always remember back in the day, we'd have our contractually required one meeting per week with the customer. And, in other projects, they could be very contentious. And because, quite frankly, at the end of the day, they just weren't engaged. And sometimes the project managers would wait until that weekly call to inform them of an issue. And, so recently, again, that was one of my big things that I've always made sure that other folks that have gone on to be project managers, like, look, be continuously active, build that relationship to where, hey, you're almost talking on a daily basis, to where that call that you're having to have on once a week becomes a catch-up call where you're going, hey, these are the issues we're facing, but here's what we've already taken care of. We're on track, or hey, we're behind, but we know that we're going to make it up here. It becomes a point where those weekly calls that you have to have are quite frankly a coffee catch-up time, where you're asking how everybody's kids did over the weekend at their sporting events or whatever, and that, it kind of got to the point where some of our internal folks were like, Justin, I'm not even going to dial into your calls anymore, because it's just a coffee session, like, hey, I'd rather have that than the alternative. And so those are the beautiful things when you got a team that's operating at a high level, and you're actively engaged with the customer, and they've got that trustworthiness, and you're catching excellence, and that's when you really are having some fun. And that's where, when you see these projects come to life and be able to see them get finished and the customer's happy, I mean, that's the beauty.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Justin. This is so powerful discussion. And at the end of the day, it's not my fault. It's your fault.
I'll take it. No problem.
Yeah. So even when the fault is there, accept it and move on and learn from that and keep doing better things.
I have always said you win as a team and you lose as a team, but quite frankly, what I say is, hey, I'm not going to point the finger at any of the folks on my team. At the end of the day, there was likely something that I could have done as the leader of the project, and that's on me, and we'll learn from it and move forward. But yeah, we win and lose as a team. But again, you as the captain of the team, it is your job to take ownership and be able to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. Okay, Justin, thank you very much once again. This was so powerful discussion. I'm very excited and happy for this discussion. It's not about finding faults, about learning from each other and grow yourself. So guys, do your best to learn from each other, learn from these webinars and the podcasts, and you will find so much information from these and more to come. And I'm excited about all this discussion. Thank you. And Man in Red has done
That's
it.
right. Sunday Red. Tiger Woods red.
Exactly. All right, Justin, thank you. And I will see you again soon. Bye now.
Take care.
Bye.